it's Andrea here, and welcome to another episode of The Connection Compass. This week, I am talking to Gary Sheader, who is the founder and managing director of the Manufacturers Alliance. Gary is also a facilitator of transformational leadership development and meaningful change. Gary's work centers on bringing people together in honest, human ways, and our conversation together does exactly that. In today's episode, we explore what it means to celebrate men and move forward towards truly inclusive leadership, where everyone feels seen and supported. Gary shares his own experience of growing up with unspoken expectations and how that shaped his understanding of identity, responsibility, and what it means to be a man in today's world. We talk about the urgent need to invest in men's mental health and the pressures, both societal and internal, that affect men and women differently, yet leave many of us with a similar sense of disconnection. Gary speaks openly about trauma, entering therapy, and his commitment to paying it forward by learning as much as he can to help others. We also discuss the importance of understanding yourself and the grounding power of retreats, rituals, and creating safe spaces. Hello, Gary, and welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. It's great that you could be here. For our listeners, please could you share a little bit about yourself?
I'm Gary. So I run an organisation called the Manufacturers Alliance, and we've been introduced by a mutual friend,
Juliet, who was on the podcast beforehand. I think she came on the second series. Did you know Juliet and I have known each other for about 30 years?
You have, yeah. This started in school.
No, Superdrug. We're a Saturday girls.
Superdrug, right?
Yes, Superdrug in Piccadilly.
I bet you're both really mischievous as well, just constantly messing about.
Yeah, I think there was some of that. There still is. We're always mischievous now. But yeah. So it was a lovely introduction. I think it'll be a really nice addition to the podcast. I think you being here and your presence and your wisdom and knowledge that you're going to bring. So I'm looking forward to that. So when we discussed coming on the podcast, we just said we were going to let the conversation flow, really, weren't we? But I have got a couple of questions to ask you for. And one of the things I've noticed this week, Gary, as I've been stalking your social media posts, is that you were one of very few people that acknowledged and celebrated International Men's Day.
Okay.
Why was it so important for you to acknowledge it?
Yeah, I think I acknowledge it in a slightly different way, maybe. So to me, my acknowledgement was so I sit on the board for the Women in Manufacturing movement in the UK, and we have a WIM Wednesday. So every week there's a post about women in manufacturing and inclusive leadership. So the overlap just felt like the right time to talk about, rather than there's a feminist movement. We're trying to create something that's separate. I just felt like I needed to share something that was about that this whole movement around inclusive leadership and celebrating men and celebrating women is about bringing everything together as a whole, as opposed to we're trying to create two separate entities. Yeah, so that's why I just felt like I needed to acknowledge that. It's celebrating everyone, really, as opposed to just, one.
No, I thought it was really nice to see, because I think there is an imbalance when it comes to International Women's Day and when it comes to International Men's Day. The International Women's Day is very visible, and International Men's not so much. Now, I've had a busy week, so I haven't really been on the social media channels very much, but I didn't see anything at all on some of the other. Yours was just one of the very few. I think I saw three posts for International Men's Day. Why do you think we've got that imbalance?
Why have we got the imbalance?
Yeah, have you got any thoughts?
It probably starts in childhood. I suppose I can only relate to my own experiences, really, and my own story. So I think as a young boy, there were things that you were meant to be as a boy, that particularly masculine elements of a young boy becoming an adolescent. For me and my upbringing, I suppose the feminist element of women was seen as you don't want to be that. So for me, like crying wasn't allowed as
Yeah.
as a young boy. Anything that was seen as girly, I don't think I'm on my own. It was more of a generational thing,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Of boys should be this and girls should be
Mhm.
that, and you give boys cars, tough things to do, and
Mhm.
girls get dolls and pink things to play with. So it's kind of starts at quite a young age. I feel
Yeah.
the kind of separating. I suppose it's emphasised the difference, but it didn't feel there were elements of it that didn't feel authentic to me.
Mm.
So I think even as a young person, there were elements of it that somehow just didn't feel right. I was doing as I was told because it's what your elders are saying, and you have to do as you're told. But something deeper down didn't feel authentic or truthful
Yeah.
about it. There was I think a little resistance to it, but it was like I don't quite know what that is, so you just go along with what you're told to do.
Yeah, and I so one of the things I found out about you as I was going through the post is we're actually the same age. So we've grown up in a very similar time, and I think that is that sometimes I feel because of the time that we grew up and obviously our parents had how they were brought up, there wasn't this awareness that there is today.
Hmm.
There wasn't an awareness that, and in some ways we were restricted. I mean, I that wasn't right for me because I wore football kits as a young kid and played football with my dad. I played with dolls, so I did everything. I did it all. So I've been really lucky from that respect that we're just encouraged to do what you liked, what you enjoyed. But I do understand what you're saying because it was a time when there was a certain way that you had to be.
Hmm.
Your parents said when really, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
left-handed as well, so even when I was younger, like as a baby,
Yeah.
when I was picking things up with my left hand, it was being taken out of my left hand and put into my right because that was also a thing at the time that you didn't want
Yeah.
you didn't want your kids to be left-handed. So yeah, which has been, I suppose, it's a good thing because I have ended up left-handed, but I've got quite a lot of dexterity in my right. So
Right.
it's like if I play a sport, I play cricket left-handed, I play golf right-handed, so I can kind of shift either side, and maybe it's done something in my brain as well, in terms of that balancing
Yeah.
the left and right brain.
Find the positivity in the situation. Yeah. So that's really so do you think from what you've experienced or what men have experienced, younger or I think for women as well in some
Mm,
respects, that we've had these restrictions placed upon us that doesn't quite allow us to be ourselves. So for men to be out there celebrating, I suppose with the feminist movement, we've got more used to that. But for men, it seems a little bit different, perhaps a little bit behind. So do you think there is a reluctance to celebrate? Or maybe not a reluctance, maybe just
yeah,
an awkwardness around it, perhaps.
yeah, I'm not quite sure why that is. I was reading something yesterday about the government have released a pot of funding for men's mental health to support men's mental health. So it's recognised, and I think people aware that something needs to happen. I don't know if you come across Andy's Man Club. That
Yeah.
seems to be something that is growing, which is brilliant. And men are getting an opportunity to speak, but for whatever reason, I suppose the kind of things I experience is a lot of men who are disconnected from their emotions and how they feel, and I suppose expectations. And I think this is the same for women as it is for men. There are a lot of societal expectations and norms that you're meant to live up to. Someone's created these rules that men should do this and women should do that. And I suppose when you break through that and beyond that, and you start living your own authentic path, I
Mm.
suppose you start to see that system and the noise of living up to societal expectations is just, yeah, it's not authentic, is it?
No. And I think I really like what you said earlier about the women in manufacturing and then bringing in the masculine element as well to make a whole.
Mm.
I really like that point because I think outside of us in society, there's a lot of noise that's perhaps creating division and discord and wariness. And but the more that we can embrace those two energies and bring them together, we start to have a sense of understanding of where we are. And I think what's more closer to the truth for all of us is that we're all struggling in
Mm.
some way. And we're all perhaps feeling a sense of disconnection. That it isn't necessarily a man's thing. It isn't necessarily we're all experiencing it to on some level.
Yeah, I think that was the route that we're headed towards is wholeness, isn't it? Is the goal. So it's, yeah, whatever that means for different people. We've all got masculine and feminine elements, haven't we? And it's embracing all of it to be a whole human, embracing your own emotions and feelings as a human being. It's not necessarily as a man or a, but knowing yourself, emotional intelligence is important, isn't it? Whatever sex you are.
And I really like that. So you're very much embrace the self-awareness stuff, don't you? And the
Mm.
internal work and the self-development and the ritual. How did you get into that in the first instance? What drew you to it?
Uh, it's a good question. I'm not sure I was drawn to it. I would say I experienced trauma as a young person. I didn't really know it was that. It's, I suppose as you get older, I think I'd realised by my late 20s, 30ish that I was disconnected really
Yeah.
from my emotions and how I felt. So I knew I needed to do something. And I can remember reading, it might have been a local paper actually. There was just a little ad in, and it was a therapist who put an ad in, and it was like they could just read my mind and everything about me. I just read this little script, and it was like, oh my God, how could they possibly know all this and just how I'm feeling, you know, where I am right now. And in an instant, and I'd never done anything like it before, I just picked the phone up and just rang this number and just said, I've just read the little piece you've put in and it's spoken to me. And we had about 20, 30-minute chat, and it was just life changing. The therapy was just hard to begin with. I felt cheated because the first meeting that we had, I can remember the conversation very vividly. And they said to me, I'm not going to give you any answers and you're going to be doing all the work. And in that instant, I just couldn't believe that that's what I let myself in for. It was like, I thought I was going to sit opposite someone.
Yeah.
I'd say, these are some of the things that are going on. What should I do about it? Just give me some strategies to work with. But it wasn't anything like that. It was difficult. It was getting everything out from within inside me. And every session I walked away saying, I'm not going back. I'm not doing that again. But yeah, there was something in they were very good. They'd always just give me something to work with after each session, and I'd apply it. And something changed in me every time, and it was enough for me to begrudgingly go back and have another session.
So you know that bit where you went and you'd go away and you go, I'm not going back. How would you describe that? Would you have described that in like a resistance?
Yeah,
But then was it the recognition that actually something was shifting that made you go back?
yeah. I think it made me feel so vulnerable. The sessions, and we'd get into some pretty deep places with the conversation, and they wouldn't leave me there. As I say, they were very good therapists. I was back on a good level. I'd have an action, a plan, or something to do walking away. Yeah, so there was definitely resistance there, but I think because I'm quite pragmatic,
Mm.
I I learn by doing stuff. So I think that at least giving something a go and quite a few of the things that I tried didn't work either. Without going into too much detail, there was a conversation I needed to have with someone. I think I expected something from it, and that didn't happen. So even though I was going away and I was kind of doing the things that we were speaking about, I was also a little bit confused as well by okay, I thought this was going to be a really magical moment of just closure maybe on some things, and those things didn't happen. So I suppose part of me was maybe the drawback was well, what next? Because that didn't work. So I got the closure that I wanted, but it was the whole journey of it was completely life changing. I think like there's different points in my life where these types of things have happened. I want to pay it forward.
Yes.
So for me, from that experience, I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could about everything that happened, the tools, the skills this person had to be able to do that. I just felt like I want to gift this to other people because it's had such a difference for me. It was just like, this is just amazing. Why is everyone not doing this?
And you have gone on to hold space for others, haven't you? And do you think that was inspired from that time and then what you've learned as you've gone on to do yoga? You've done other things, haven't you? Like yoga practices and more spiritually based healing work. So has all that inspired you then to hold space for others, which you've gone on to do? Which you could tell us a little bit about that actually, about your sessions and about the retreat.
Yeah, I would say that it has inspired me to do that. I think I've always done it. I think if I reflect back, as objectively as I possibly can, I think I've always been a safe space for people to speak. Like if I could just just images of, friends and different people growing up that people have sought me out, for that conversation of this has happened in my life and I need someone to speak to. So I think I've always had something that people have felt, even complete strangers on the train will just just sit next to me and just start telling the story. I mean, I love people's stories anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
I find that as well. People just seem to just tell me, just tell me things, which is really nice. When I used to be nursing on the ward, and like I'd I'd hand over like this person's story, and I remember someone saying, "How did you get them to tell you that?" It was just like, I don't know. It just did. So yeah, so I recognise what you're saying.
So I was going to say, and I've stayed on the path. So from that moment, I've just continued with that. And I've been back in therapy when I've needed to, but I've just continued that deeper learning about myself. So that's like almost like 20 years now of just that continuous practice of learning more and more about myself and being introduced to, different tools and mediums of, of how I can learn more about myself, which for a lot of that, as much as I can, I pass on to people. So from the peer groups that we run, we every year we take our customers away on a retreat. Which, if I go back when I first set up the Manufacturers Alliance, taking business owners away, they're typically engineers, who've come up through a manufacturing route. So yeah, getting a bunch of engineers in a room and doing this kind of stuff. It's quite an experience. But when we first started out, it was very much, it was a safe space away for a couple of days from the business, but we were quite strategic, focused in what we would spend our time on. But over the last decade or so, the retreats have evolved, and I think the more access we've provided people with tools just to help them better understand who they are, it seems that people have started to lean more towards that in what they want from the the retreats. So our retreats have evolved now into a space that is about that deeper learning about yourself and just bringing different kind of tools in to help.
Is it the same people that go every time, or did you get changeover of people? If it is the changeover of people?
So our peer groups, they stay together. So we've got lots of different peer groups, and they stay together as a
Right.
group. So constantly together. We meet every month together, and then once a year we go away on the retreat. So the people who've got pretty good relationships anyway. But the dynamic does shift on the retreat.
Mm.
The meetings that we talk about, as much as lots of personal stuff as well as business stuff. There's something about the getting people away to somewhere that's a bit more rural.
Mm.
We're in nature, we go for walks, we're away for a couple of days, it's going to be an overnight. We do the best we possibly can to keep people off the phones, just try and have that as, and explain why, how triggering phones can be. And a lot of people are brilliant with that, to keep the phones away, really get stuck into some really good learning. And I mean, for a good few years, meditation's been part of our retreats
Yeah.
for a good few years. We've been doing that for quite some time. I won't call it yoga on the retreats because it's not quite yoga. I would say it's like stretching. Yeah, just getting people into, movement. So as well as walking, get people moving the body and just releasing maybe some things that are trapped.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that we did on some recent retreats was, so I'm training to be a sound journey practitioner.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we had a sound journey as well on one of the recent retreats, which seems to have gone down pretty
Yeah.
well. For a lot of people, they've never done anything like that before. So it's quite a privilege when you're the first person to provide someone with something. So yeah. And it's brilliant to see the authentic connection, I think.
So we'll go into a little bit more about authentic connection, because
Mhm.
that's, I think, be really interesting to chat about that. And I was just wanted to ask you about your thoughts around the elements of a safe space. Like what needs to be, like you talked about your energy and that your people are able to open up to you. So what skills do you think you have that creates that safe space? And then I suppose moving out of that and into retreats, what are the elements of a safe space? It's a question I ask myself a lot
Mm.
because I know I've been to places before and they're like, "This is a safe space," and it's like, "Is it?" Like, what
Does
makes
it feel that way?
it safe? What makes it safe? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing that makes it safe? Like, here you.
I think I do the best I possibly can to not judge, to accept people as they are, and whatever capacity that is, what they're bringing in the room, the history of whatever that's been. We've all got a journey that we've been on. So yeah, I think, we've all got biases still, haven't we? That constantly trying to learn more about mine, and yeah, so do the best possible job as I can to accept people as they are and not judge. I think I do the best I can to make it about them. I don't really have an agenda for me personally. So if I'm holding a space in a one-to-one or for a group of people, this isn't about me at all. This is about you, or it's about the group, which has been, again, that's been a journey for me of not having any needs really from that experience. I'm there to facilitate and support and guide. So I think there are any elements of me that are muddying the waters in any way. So hopefully that helps to keep it safe, and hopefully people pick up on that energy as well. That I don't have an agenda. It is
Yeah.
about it is about them. But I also think there's an energy thing that
That's really coming through. It is about the energy that you hold. I think.
yeah, I don't know what that is, because that's something I think probably beyond maybe what we know currently. There's something else at play. I feel that isn't
Mm.
a seen thing, maybe not even a felt thing, but there's an energy there that, like you said, you walk in and someone says, this is a safe space, and there's something that you just think it doesn't feel safe to me.
Exactly. I have done some work, Start With Why with Simon
Mm,
Sinek, and around my why. And my why is to connect so deeply and authentically with yourself that you're able to hear, see, and understand and love others unconditionally. And I didn't know that was gonna be my why when I started working out what it was, but it really became quite pertinent because what that means to me is that I see, hear, and understand myself so deeply that I'm able to see myself in others, which then brings in a completely different element of compassion and being able to step away from, like, I find, like, if I divulge someone, and if I was met with, like, a really overt reaction, I'd find that quite unsafe, I'd find it quite unstable, where if someone's just quiet and calm and they're just holding space. But I think having that deep connection with myself and understanding myself and perhaps being able to see myself in others, that you can react in a really gentle way. It enables you to be able to say things that it may be just something really simple. If you could see someone and they're really tired, and you could just say, "Oh, make sure you take care of yourself," or something like that. Make sure you get some rest. It could be just something really subtle, really gentle
mm,
that soothes somebody. And I think that is an energy in itself.
yeah, but that feels like s- I mean, like with love, is love just an energy? So I think what it sounds like you're describing is is quite a loving expression towards someone, to be so deeply caring about someone
Yeah.
that you want to be gentle, but at the same time you want to help and just give them a nudge
Yeah,
towards
yes, that's
something.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what is it to have that deep connection and understanding with yourself. You can nudge yourself to move forwards and
Mm.
do something, but you can do it for other people as well. And that's why to me, why authentic connection is really important into modern day society because it allows us to soften.
So what do you do to? Because I'm a firm believer on kind of putting your own mask on first. So you got to be looking after yourself because we're both obviously like we like to help other people, but if you're only doing that and you're not helping yourself, you can end up just spiraling down, can't you? So what kind of practice do you have to look after yourself?
Yeah, so I do hold a self-awareness, so I'm always internally scanning and feel a bit off today. Like, what's that about? I need to move my body. I think it's looking inwards and feeling and hearing myself and understanding what my needs are in that given moment. I practice yoga. I've recently started doing 40-day devotional practices, so a morning ritual of meditation and journaling, and I have a small seasonal altar to. So to me, it's that internal introspection. It's that noticing yourself and what you need in a given moment, and it does change, and it changes when you're met with a situation that's really difficult. And I have to say, even though I do all that, like like there are still some times when I forget myself. I was having a conversation with a strategy-based coach recently, and there's a couple of things that I've been working on and I'm just hitting brick walls. And she said to me, "But what is it you want? What do
Mm.
you want?" And I was like, "No idea." Like, and it was a really defining moment because I thought, well, in this situation, I haven't given myself a second thought at all about what I need or what I want.
Mm.
So even though I do all this stuff, it doesn't mean that I don't get it right all the time. I need
Yeah.
other people to point it out to me just as much as anyone. It was quite interesting when the penny dropped. I was like, Oh,
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's having some compassion for yourself in those moments as well, isn't it?
So that's the kind of thing that I do. What about you?
I think I'm good. I like habits, so I like a routine. So it's like I stopped drinking last year, which I find it easier just stopping
Mm,
than I might just dip in every now and again. I don't know, for me it's just easier if I have like a routine and a habit. So something that I've built in as a daily habit for me is, so when I get up in the morning, get up pretty early usually. First job is feed the cat because she'll just meow and follow me around everywhere if she doesn't get fed. Make myself and Trish a brew, put Trish's next to the bed, and then I come into this room. So this is just a spare room that we've got, and I'll meditate. So usually just silent meditation, but sometimes I'll do a guided one if I feel that I need some inspiration for something. And then I journal. I have a few different journal practices that I use. That just helps me get what's it, kind of floating around in my brain, out of my brain and onto a piece of paper. Just helps me make sense of what's going on inside of me, and that's from a thinking and feeling perspective. In not only how I feeling now, my reflections on yesterday and how things went, and how I felt. I always have a what was yesterday's lesson, so that's part of my journaling practice. It feels like a healthy spin sometimes when you've had, which happens, doesn't it? That you have a bad day and something quite doesn't go how you want it to do, rather than ruminate on it. It's what can we learn from it, and then
yeah.
put that into practice. And then I'll do some form of exercise. So it'll either be yoga. So for me, it's Kundalini yoga is my practice, or I'll do some other form of exercise. So just get myself moving.
Okay. Mm,
And I had a bit more time this morning. So this morning managed to get outdoors for a walk. Absolutely glorious
yeah,
morning
it's
this
glorious
morning.
day. Beautiful.
Yeah, sun's out, frost on the ground. Saw a few different herds of deer while I was out wandering, and yeah, brilliant start to the day today.
Do you ever have mornings where you don't get to do it, where things are a bit of a rush? And does it make you feel a little bit, do you not feel a bit strange when you've not done your ritual practices? I do when I don't. Some mornings, if I've got to be somewhere and I've got like a 2 hour journey or whatever, and like there's just not that time, or things haven't gone quite to plan. But then I leave the house, I feel a bit odd, I feel a bit strange, and then I'll come home and do them, and it's like, oh, I feel right now.
I don't
Never
not
had
do
that.
it.
Oh, you don't not do it.
Yeah, which probably, yeah, it's probably just my slightly obsessive personality, but yeah, even and I do check myself sometimes and think, really? And it's like if I have an early start, I'll set I'll set my alarm clock for like 4:30, quarter to
Yeah.
five, and just
Mhm.
get up really early so I can still get everything in, get a shower, get to where I need to be. Yeah, so I've for a couple of years now. I've managed to do my practice
Good.
every morning.
Yeah, good. I like you tune into different philosophies. So I'm obviously a follower of yogic philosophy, but also Taoism is really
Mm.
important to me. And I know that you lean into Stoicism. So how is that? How have you embraced and embodied that really into your world? Why is that important to you?
It's probably a practice that started before I knew that's what it was. There's probably elements of stoicism in different practices. Yeah, so I think it started with reflecting back. You don't always quite know whether that was how you really were at the time because things get distorted. But I think I was slightly more pessimistic when I was younger, and I had an experience where I So every Saturday I always took my nan shopping, and always had some pasties for lunch or fish and chips or something. So I'd get some food, we'd have some food, and then we'd go shopping and watch TV for a while. And I can remember I'd been and got us some food. There was a huge queue. I think I was a bit late anyway. And then when I arrived, I was about 15 minutes late. And her response as soon as I walked in was, "Where have you been?" And I said, there was a big queue. And she said, "I thought you'd been killed." And it was like, there's like a big queue and there's death. It's
Yeah.
like, and it was in that moment that I realized I think I've had quite a lot of this throughout my life, just this catastrophic thinking. And I think I started to realize, I don't know why that particular moment, that it was like, I do this. I
Yeah.
think I think my brain jumps into these worst case scenarios with things. So I think my initial route, which seems to overlap a little bit with Stoicism, was positive psychology. So it was Martin Seligman that I started to follow, and there was just a lot of practice around what he calls learned optimism. And I just started, and I liked his style because it was very much here's some theory and evidence and where it all comes from, and here's a practical tool that you can use to make it happen. And I just started following him and doing the practice. And I suppose you don't notice it, the day that it happens. But I think over a period of time, my mindset started to shift towards a more like optimistic view and more hopeful of the future, as opposed to the way that my brain used to be. Just this constant, like, what's the worst thing that could that could happen, which I think overlaps quite a bit with Stoicism. But I do think the virtues of Stoicism seem to, and you mentioned about at the start with why, I've been following Simon Sinek for over a decade. But there's quite an overlap with that as well within Stoicism, about living a, because I did do some courses around Stoicism, and what is a good life is a brilliant question to reflect on. Are you living a good life? What does that even mean? So some deeper thinking then, isn't there, about, well, what is a good life? So I think that has taken me down a path of what does it mean? What is a force for good? So probably just that kind of virtuous approach to Stoicism of living a good life. It seemed to overlap quite a bit with Simon Sinek's purpose and doing things that are meaningful. So yeah, Stoicism's been around for a long time. I think I just like to make sense of things by giving it a go. I think for me, Stoicism's quite practical, and you can do something with it. So I'm okay with theory and things that are abstract, but I like something that I can grab hold of, and let's give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it helps us. I think if we are deep thinkers, I think it helps us to understand life when we lean into different philosophies. I lean into Taoism in terms of working with nature. So
Mm.
I work with the seasons, seasonally guided, bring it into work, like how I work. I mean, obviously not to a T, because life's not always life isn't always, you can't always rest, go into hibernation in the winter as soon as you hit winter. But you can embrace different elements of it, even though winter's quite a busy time for us, isn't it? With festivities and different festivities. But you can find pockets of time where you can have that deep introspection, even from like a morning ritual. But I think for as deep thinkers, I think we need different philosophies to help us understand and navigate life. So, being a fellow Gen Xer and a 50-year-old, can I ask? And I don't know, it's a silly question, but I asked one of the ladies who came on the podcast and had a 50th birthday quite close to mine. And how did you feel about turning 50? Were you just kind of like, bring it on, whatever? Because I was.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a big birthday, I suppose, isn't it? Turning 50,
Yeah.
which I've recently been to, quite a big 50th birthday party of someone else's, which I didn't want really. I was quite happy with a family meal, just
Yeah.
get our kids around a table with the partners and we'll just go out for some food, and that's fine for me. So I didn't really want it to be a big show.
No.
But yeah, but I wasn't worried about it. I think it's something I've reflected on, like now, well into being 50 now, was how grateful I am for the health that I've got
Yeah.
for someone who's 50. I'm in good shape, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So just super grateful, really,
Yeah.
to be 50 and be doing okay.
Yeah, I feel the same, and every year I say I don't feel any different when I get older. But when I hit 50, I thought, oh, actually, I might be a grown up now. Might have hit adulthood. Because I think as a generation, we're quite young minded, aren't we?
Mhm.
And we've probably had we've had an amazing life experience. We've lived through some great times, but yeah, I feel very similar to you. I feel very grateful for the life that I've lived,
Mm,
and for being healthy and being able to move, and do things, and continue to find opportunities. So, yeah, Gary, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a joy
oh, thank
speaking
you.
to you. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrea.
That was another great episode, a great conversation about being human, about the philosophies that help us to make sense of life, the courage it takes to look inwards, and the deep connection that becomes possible when we do. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Connection Compass. If you think it will help someone else, please leave a review. And if you have any questions, please visit Andrea L. Evans' Facebook page. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.